Hey guys! So just to kind of preface this video a bit, I've been doing a lot of evaluation, specifically on myself and how I approach my artwork and projects and things of that nature. And those are sort of the themes that I'm planning on talking about in this video. As a warning, it might get a little bit rambly because I tend to get that way when I'm trying to sort through things in my head, but there are some things that I really wanted to share with you guys so that hopefully other people can benefit from them as well. So first things first, the paintings that I'm actually doing in this video are from a sketchbook page, and their purpose was to become part of a sticker pack that I was going to be selling on my Etsy shop. It's an exclusive sticker pack and it's only able to be purchased during the month of May. And the idea of this as a project is sort of what led me to the topic for today's video of evaluation. Now I will say that these two designs are not necessarily my favorite sticker designs in the pack. I don't hate them, I definitely like them, but if I had to pick, I would probably say that my favorite is the robin that I did, just in case you were curious. Now, the main thing I was really trying to accomplish with this little mini project was a series of illustrations that had more of a spring feeling to them. Because they were supposed to be based on the month of May and they were only going to be able to be purchased in May, I knew that I wanted to represent that in the actual designs. However, I found this to be a little bit of a challenge just because it's quite a bit different than what I typically do. I do draw a lot of flowers on a regular basis, but one of my favorite ways to incorporate flowers into my work is to give it kind of a darker twist. Personally, I feel like the combination of multiple things that I like leads to a much more interesting result than just one overall feeling. I like the layers of depth and understanding, and it's just me trying to throw everything that I like at a page, basically. So in the end, these illustrations were fun, but I found myself procrastinating quite a bit because it was so different from what I was used to doing. And with that procrastination, my brain tends to start freaking out and it tends to start picking apart everything and, in other words, evaluating what might be going wrong. Now, I actually have a video on creative burnout on this channel, and I've talked about it multiple times throughout the videos that I've created. And I definitely found myself experiencing some burnout, I think, due to the overload of projects that I was putting on myself. When I tried to do this evaluation, I basically sat down and I wrote down all of my projects and all of the deadlines that I had set for them. Some had external deadlines and some were just personally set ones. And it turned out that I had about 12 projects in 4 months. Some of these deadlines were days apart from each other, and all of that pressure that I was putting on myself due to deadlines and projects, plus the stress of life, plus anything else that I might be doing, it made it very hard to make myself do anything. And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, because you would think if you have a lot of things to do, that it would motivate you to do more. But what I've found for me personally, and I've heard many other people with this same experience, when you have so many things, sometimes you just shut down. And because I was overloading myself to the extent that it seemed that I definitely found myself in a place where it was a struggle. And then, of course, it turns into this vicious cycle of feeling guilty for not doing anything, and then beating yourself up about it, and then forcing yourself to do a few things, and then feeling like you can't do anything right again, and then procrastinating more, and the cycle repeats. And I'm sure that I'm not the only person that feels this way. And it could be about something completely unrelated to artwork. This cycle could apply to anything and everything in your life. But what I found was that after I completed 2 of those projects, the deadlines that had been piling up on me, I actually completed them one day after another. I found that the pressure sort of relaxed a little bit. And it was very interesting because I didn't actually have the satisfaction that I normally get with the completion of a project. Normally, once you complete something that you've been working towards, there's this feeling of just energy and excitement. And I didn't have that. I didn't actually feel that excited about the project itself. But once those 2 projects were completed, one of them was the sketchbook project, and I do plan on making more videos, recording what led up to this. And the other was actually this sticker pack that I'm creating in this video. Once I finished those, I found myself doodling in my sketchbook, and I was actually enjoying it for the first time in what was probably months. And I didn't want to jinx it. I thought about it as I was working in my sketchbook, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having fun. And then I was like, no, stop. Don't think about it. Don't think about how much fun you're having. Just enjoy it. Don't think about it. You're going to stress yourself out again. And I did, and it actually was a very enjoyable thing. And since then, I have been able to work in my sketchbooks and enjoy myself, even though I do have a few other deadlines going on at the same time. It almost felt like I had been carrying some kind of weight, and I had just set the weight down, and it allowed me to actually move more freely than I had been before. And I started thinking about this concept of the completion of projects actually leading to more creativity or more freedom when it comes to your own emotions. And I know it's not always possible to just finish a project. Sometimes you're so far away from the end goal, or you don't really even care about the project anymore, and so pushing through and quote-unquote just finishing feels impossible. I get it, I've been there. But what I really started thinking about in this sort of reevaluation process was that if it's impossible to finish a project within a decent amount of time, and you had multiple of these projects that were sort of piling up on you, if it's possible to remove 1 or 2 or 3 of those projects from the equation, if it's something that is a self-set deadline, and you self-set 4 projects to be finished on the same day, I wondered if removing some of those projects would have the same effect as finishing them. And it's not necessarily that you're giving up, and sometimes I understand there are external deadlines. The sketchbook project was one of those external deadlines. There was a due date that it had to be in the mail. So I couldn't just put it off and focus on something else. That 100% needed to be the thing that I was focusing on in that moment. But I started looking at some of my other projects that I have going on. I have a lot of writing projects that I want to work on, and I'm trying to interlace it with illustration projects and teaching projects and so many different things. And I feel like my attention is split. We've been finding out more and more that multitasking is something that doesn't really work as much as people want it to work. Our brains are much more equipped to single tasking, aka picking one thing and focusing on it nonstop until it's done. Now, I've never been very good at this, and I've always known that it was a thing, but I always kind of ignored it. I thought, well, yes, this applies to most people, but I do fine when I'm multitasking, when I have multiple things going on. I'm doing great. But then I experienced the pressure being taken off of me, where I didn't have so many projects going on at once, and it was a relief. And it makes sense, like I said, scientifically. They've tried to determine what works best for productivity. But I do think that there's something very human about experiencing something for yourself as opposed to just hearing about it. Perhaps that means that my making this video is a little bit ironic. You probably won't learn as much from hearing about my experience as you would experiencing it for yourself, but I think that's exactly the point I'm trying to make. If you're feeling kind of overloaded and you have a lot of projects going on at the same time and you have a lot of deadlines, maybe think about not giving up on the projects, but setting them aside for a different day. Setting them aside until you're finished with the one thing that matters most to you in that moment, and then you can consider the possibility of introducing another project. Now, if you're anything like me, this will be a lot easier said than done. I'm certainly not a very big fan of limiting myself in terms of what I'm able to accomplish. But if this exchange allows for a freedom of creativity and just how you generally feel in your day-to-day life, it might be worth a shot. So if any of you decide to try this, let me know how it turns out. I'd love to hear from you. And I hope that even if you didn't learn anything new from this, that it maybe gave you the motivational boost that you needed to take steps to try to free your mind a little bit when it comes to approaching the things that you need to do. So thank you all so much for watching. You can subscribe if you want, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.